All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Autumn Salamak. I'm the Climate Mitigation and Adaptation Officer with the City of Bainbridge Island. And thank you all so much for joining us tonight for an update on our 2020 Climate Action Plan and our new Climate Smart Challenge. This is a Zoom webinar, which means that everyone is muted with their videos turned off. However, you can submit questions using the chat button on the bottom of the screen, and we'll have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions and talk about any issues of interest. We do have Alan from our IT department here tonight to help with any technological issues and to also assist with our questions and answers at the end. So thank you, Alan, and let's get started. So tomorrow is Earth Day. So now seems like a great time to review our 2020 Climate Action Plan goals and share a bit about what we've accomplished in our first 18 months, with a special focus on our new Climate Smart Challenge. Climate change is an issue of concern for our community for many reasons, with impacts for both human health and our environment. Given that we live on an island with over 50 miles of shoreline, sea level rise is a particular concern for us. According to a 2019 assessment for the island, we're looking at a 1-foot increase in sea level rise by the year 2060. Now, along with flooding and habitat risks, moving all that salt water inland can contaminate wetlands, aquifers, and agricultural soils. There are also concerns about storm surges and king tides along the coast, which are annually occurring events today that could become much more frequent in the future. Extreme heat events are also a key concern and becoming more common in our community. In June and August of last year, the city opened the Senior Community Center as a cooling hub for the first time ever in response to excessive heat warnings. Wetter winters, drier summers, and more extreme precipitation events are also of concern, as are wildfires that can occur as far away as California with impacts on our local air quality. Burning fossil fuels like natural gas, oil, and coal to power our buildings and our vehicles releases greenhouse gases, which contribute to climate change. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is a key action to protect the health of our community and our natural environment. It can also help to reduce the magnitude of future climate change impacts that we might see. We know that more than half of our community emissions come from building energy use, primarily residential electricity use on the island. That's followed by about 34% of our emissions coming from transportation, primarily from air travel and personal vehicle trips. The first Bainbridge Island Climate Action Plan was adopted by Council back in 2020, thanks to the work of our Climate Change Advisory Committee and input from hundreds of island residents. The Climate Action Plan has 3 key goals related to climate change. Number 1, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 90% by 2045, with interim goals in the next 3 to 13 years. Number 2, ensure that Bainbridge Island is climate savvy and can withstand the impacts of climate change. And number 3, inspire community action to take meaningful and equitable actions in partnership with local and regional organizations to reduce future emissions and prepare our community for climate change impacts. Now, we saw a 9% increase in our emissions from 2014 to 2018, and we're already seeing the impacts of climate change locally. So we know that we've got a really big lift ahead of us if we want to achieve these 3 goals. Our Climate Action Plan recommends a number of activities in support of those 3 goals, with a focus on energy use and energy source, the built environment, transportation and travel modes, our natural environment, waste generation and disposal, and community engagement. Actions related to increasing our resilience to climate change are also present throughout the plan. So let's talk about what we've accomplished since the plan was adopted back in November of 2020. The creation of my position was a priority action identified in the plan, and I started with the city back in October to work with both city staff and community stakeholders to implement our Climate Action Plan. We're starting to think more about how future climate change impacts need to be considered in city projects, and staff tested a climate change adaptation tool, which we're looking at training more staff to use this year. We developed cost estimates and staffing needs for priority actions through the end of this year, and we've completed our 2019 greenhouse gas emissions inventory for municipal operations. Now, that analysis showed an increase compared to our 2014 baseline, primarily due to an increase in water-related electricity use, diesel use for vehicles and equipment, and the amount of waste sent to the landfill from city operations. It takes quite a bit of time and data to complete all of those greenhouse gas emissions inventories, but we're trying to do that for our city operations each year and for the broader community every 5 years or so, because it's really important that we can communicate back to the public how we're doing in terms of meeting these goals and seeing whether or not we're on the right track. Building energy use represents our biggest source of community emissions, so it's really important that we look at both how much energy we're using and where that energy is coming from. Our public works staff has been working collaboratively with Puget Sound Energy on a franchise agreement and a proposal for a partnership agreement to both reduce our energy demand on the island and increase the amount of renewable green energy being supplied. We're also talking with PSC about the potential for a community solar project at the Vincent Road site where the transfer station is located, which would allow customers to subscribe to shares in a new solar energy project located on the island. I just submitted an application for technical assistance to identify pathways and costs to achieve 100% renewable electricity on the island by 2030, and to look at opportunities to increase the resilience of our electric systems on the island. As you may know, PSC has an energy mix containing over 50% fossil fuels. While the Clean Energy Transformation Act requires that the state's electrical supply be free of coal by 2025, carbon neutral by 2030, and 100% carbon-free by 2045, our climate action plan has an even more ambitious goal, aiming to have 100% of the island's sources of electricity carbon-free by 2040 or sooner. We're hoping we'll get selected to participate in this NREL technical assistance program to really help us figure out exactly how we could do that and how much it would cost. We've also had a number of conversations with internal and external stakeholders regarding the potential for an anaerobic biodigester at the Vincent Road site to collect food waste and turn it into renewable energy or soil amendment products. The city manager recently established an ad hoc solid waste committee to move forward on council motions to both consider the suitability of that site for an anaerobic digestion facility and to undertake a comprehensive evaluation of the island's solid waste and recycling system for both efficiency and effectiveness. On the transportation front, City Council recently adopted the Sustainable Transportation Plan with a focus on low carbon transportation options and projects to serve island residents and visitors. We currently have a request for qualifications soliciting responses through April 28th to help us improve the accuracy and reporting of greenhouse gas emissions associated with our transportation sector. That solicitation is also looking to measure the anticipated emission reduction benefits associated with implementing the Sustainable Transportation Plan, and then to look at additional actions related to transportation that could help us further reduce vehicle miles traveled on the island and meet our greenhouse gas emission reduction goals specific to transportation. As a city, we recently ordered zero-emission electric landscaping tools for a pilot test as we look at converting to all electric tools in city operations this year, and potentially a similar citywide ordinance that would shift our community towards electric equipment that helps to reduce both air and noise pollution. We're having a lot of conversations about electric vehicles and charging stations for both our city fleet and the general public. And we ordered our first electric vehicle for the police department, which is scheduled to arrive this summer. We've also been doing some analyses of electrification opportunities for our city fleet and looking at options for those vehicles that don't have a good electric fit yet, especially some of our heavy duty equipment. For those vehicles without a good electric option right now, we're looking at transitioning from diesel fuel to renewable diesel, which is derived from non-petroleum renewable sources like vegetable oils. Our next step is to develop a 6-year plan for transitioning the city fleet to electric vehicles and alternative fuels, and to continue investigating grant opportunities to support the installation of public charging stations. Okay, on the waste front, hopefully you all heard that City Council passed 2 ordinances last year aimed at reducing plastic waste in alignment with our climate action plan. The first took effect in January and says that single-use food service items, like utensils and straws, can't be left out in self-serve areas for customers. They have to be kept behind the counter and distributed upon request. The second ordinance is scheduled to take effect in January of 2023 and requires reusable food serviceware for on-site dining, says that any disposable food serviceware for to-go orders be home compostable, which means they're made from a natural fiber that can break down in a backyard compost pile, and requires a 25-cent fee for disposable cups. The 2023 regulations also encourage the use of refillable dispensers for personal care products in lodging establishments and prohibits the distribution of single-use personal care products not packaged in home compostable packaging in those lodging establishments, which includes hotels, motels, Airbnbs, vacation rentals, and more. We've been working with the Chamber of Commerce, the Bainbridge Island Downtown Association, and Zero Waste Bainbridge to develop and distribute educational materials to support these new regulations. We have free posters and tabletop tents communicating changes for customers, available for local businesses to pick up at City Hall or at the Chamber of Commerce. Local food service establishments can also get a head start on transitioning to reusable dishes and utensils, thanks to the West Coast nonprofit Plastic Free Restaurants, which offers reimbursements up to $5 a piece to restaurant owners for replacing single-use plastics with reusable metal and ceramic dishes and utensils. So if you know any Bainbridge Island food service establishments that might be interested in this, let them know they can take advantage of these rebates through the end of May. In terms of preparing our community for current and future climate change impacts, we're currently seeking funding to complete a high-resolution assessment of local sea level rise impacts and to facilitate community conversations about how we're going to respond to sea level rise that will impact both public and private infrastructure. This will be a really important and no doubt challenging conversation for our community as we think about roadways, homes, utility infrastructure, and more. City Council authorized design funding for the Wing Point Sewer Pump Station to relocate the facility out of a tidal zone that is impacted by sea level rise, and our public works staff completed an emergency drainage repairs project that installed a tidal valve on a stormwater outfall to prevent upland flooding during excessive high tides. We're currently working to develop specifications for installing solar panels and battery energy storage systems at up to 6 community disaster hubs using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. The goal here is to reduce energy-related emissions from our disaster hubs and to increase their resilience in the event of a sustained power outage by making them operational when disconnected from the grid. We're currently evaluating 6 of our approximately 14 community disaster hubs, and you can see those 6 listed here. Okay, now for the main event. On the community engagement front, we recently developed a new Climate Smart Bainbridge campaign. This includes climate change content on the city website and regular climate action features in Kobe Connects and the weekly City Managers Report, which you've hopefully all started to see. We just launched our new online Climate Smart Challenge, which is really our core public engagement tool in support of the 3rd goal in our climate action plan. We created the challenge to make it simple, easy, and fun for everyone on the island to identify concrete actions they could take to help support our climate action plan. While a lot of climate action will be driven by policy decisions at the federal, state, and local level, individual actions are also really important. We know that 40% of US greenhouse gas emissions come from 5 basic household activities we do every day related to heating our homes, using electricity, transportation, food choices, and waste. The great news is that we have solutions for all 5 of these areas. with opportunities for you to take action to not only significantly lower your climate impact, but to also protect our natural environment, save money, and improve our health. If you've been following all the international reports about climate change, you know that this is a really critical time for us to take collective climate action. And we have the type of community that could get really involved in this type of challenge and make a huge difference. The Climate Smart Challenge encourages residents to think critically about changes they can make, some small and some big, to really reduce their climate impact. We've set a short-term goal to get 250 households signed up to help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions and learn about steps you can take to keep your home and your family safe from the impacts of climate change. The challenge is really focused on actions you can take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and actions you can take to prepare for the impacts of climate change. It's really easy to sign up. You just visit climatesmartbainbridge.org and click Join the Challenge to create your account. Once you create your account, there are 3 simple steps to get going. The first step is to complete your energy profile. This takes about 5 to 10 minutes and involves answering a few easy questions. This is an optional step, but doing it will allow you to see your current carbon footprint and provide more accurate information about the impact of the actions you complete. If there's a question you don't have the answer to, you can come back to it later. It's really helpful to have 12 months of energy bills available to get the most customized recommendations, but you can come back to that if needed, or you can skip it and use the regional energy averages. The next step is to find some actions that you want to take for your household. Once you log in, you'll see a grid of actions to explore that looks like this. For each action, you can either say, I already do this, or choose to start doing it. On the bottom of each action tile, you can see an estimate of the annual savings you'll get by taking that action, as well as the associated points. The points are tied to impact, so the higher the number of points, the bigger the impact you're going to have in terms of reducing emissions. Now, since the challenge is designed to reduce our climate impact compared to our actions today, you don't earn any points for anything that you say you already do. But anything that you already do will be captured in your baseline if you create your energy profile, and you have our utmost appreciation and respect for all of the actions that you have completed to date. Now, you can also click on each action tile to get more information about what a specific action includes. For example, let's take a look at the compost action. Here you can see more information about impact, including associated cost or savings with the action, and the number of points you can earn. A lot of the actions allow you to customize your level of engagement. In this example, you can say how much food waste you'll remove from your garbage and start composting. So for these actions, you can say if you're going to start small or if you're going to jump completely in. You'll also find some helpful information on how to complete each action under action steps and tips. Now, some actions are really easy, like changing to an LED light bulb. You really don't need instructions on how to do that. But other actions may be a bit more complicated or just unfamiliar, and it can really help to have steps walking you through what's involved. If there are local resources, including rebates, incentives, or educational materials available that can help you implement an action, you'll also see those on the page for the action. The challenge has over 90 different activities to choose from, so there really should be options for your household, regardless of your available budget, time, or lifestyle constraints. There are easy actions that you can get started on right away, things like adjust your thermostat. There are actions that have no cost aside from a little thought and time on your end. In fact, more than half of the actions are easy to do, don't cost much, or don't cost anything, and will even save you money. Now, if you've already done a lot to reduce your carbon footprint, you can still look at those actions that can help you take the next big step. And a lot of that might be around talking with others and sharing your story, or forming a team to create more community. Or there could be additional actions you could take related to preparing for climate change. There are also lots of family and youth-friendly activities to choose from. So there really is something for everyone. And what we're asking is for everybody in the community to take a look and choose some actions that make sense for them. And then set a goal for when you're going to complete those actions. Once you do that, you can see the full impact of all of your climate benefits and cost savings associated with the actions you've selected. It's really great to add everything that you want to do to your list now, and then steadily get to work completing those actions over the next couple of months. We're encouraging each household to set a goal of 5,000 pounds of reduced carbon impact in the first 3 to 6 months, which is a lot easier to accomplish than you might think. So to give you a sense of how the challenge works and how easy that is, we've got an example here from the Johnson family. This family took 4 really simple actions. They decided to lower their thermostat by 3 degrees during the winter, which this week still counts. A lot of us have needed our heat still on. Number 2, they decided to replace one red meat meal with a plant-based meal each week. Number 3, they got together to figure out how they could combine a few car trips to cut down on the number of miles they were driving individually each week. And lastly, they opted to purchase 100% renewable electricity by signing up with their utility company's Green Power program. So as you can see, this family met their goal with just those 4 simple actions. They only spent about $60 to opt into the 100% Green Power program, but they saved an estimated $500 a year by driving less, eating less meat, and lowering their thermostat just a smidge. And they reduced over 5,000 pounds of emissions, which is big. That's more than 2 tons of emissions per year. So it really is easy to make a difference. You just have to find the actions that make the most sense for your household. Now, once you've identified all your actions, the next step is to start or join a community or a team, because it's just so much more fun to work with others. A team is meant to be small. It's roughly 4 to 8 households of friends, neighbors, classmates, coworkers, congregation members, etc. A community group is a larger shared group, and you would form a community group if you wanted to have a competition amongst different teams or see what your collective group impact was. So for example, at the City of Bainbridge Island, we could have a City of Bainbridge Island employee community group with multiple teams for each department competing against each other. Now, you don't have to create a team or a community group. You can just do it as an individual household. But if you want to see your collective actions, that would be really helpful. It's easy to create a team or a group. All you do is click a button on your dashboard once you log in that says create a community group or team, or by clicking on the icons circled in red and purple on the screen here. Once you do that, you can create a name for your group. You get a custom page where you can upload a photo or a logo. You can get a custom link that you can cut and paste to invite other people to join your team. And on your team page, you can see your team standings. You can see what types of actions your group or team is working on, so you can really support each other. And you can also create posts that will only go to people on your team. Now, we have some really great resources available for team leaders to help you facilitate group conversations about climate change. And these are conversations that you get to lead and that you can have occur anytime that makes sense for your schedules. We'll provide everything your team needs to complete a series of fun and interactive meetings on solutions and resilience topics. The team program is set up to give you everything you need to meet every 2 to 4 weeks for about an hour to cover the 9 different topics shown on the screen here. At those meetings, you'll go through the meeting agenda together, which includes informative short videos, fun activities, and discussions where you can learn about climate solutions and emergency preparedness. The goal is really to support each other in taking new actions individually and together, and just to foster community and an opportunity to get to know your neighbors better. If you're interested in being a team leader, I'd be happy to talk with you and get you copies of these materials as they are finalized in the next few weeks. The challenge just launched at the end of March, and we've just started advertising, but we're already starting to see some results. As of today, we had 63 households signed up, which is pretty good for just under 3 weeks. And you'll be able to see our collective community results on the challenge homepage. And if you form a team, you can also see your own results and challenge others in competitions with similar homepages. I'm currently in the process of hiring a term-limited position to help with education and outreach efforts, which will include a series of educational workshops to accompany the challenge, with extensive outreach to community groups, organizations, and individuals across the island. We'll also have a climate change curriculum available to share with local educators. So stay tuned for more information and resources to support climate action in our community. And then last but not least, this Sunday is the Earth Day celebration at Rotary Park that's taking place from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will have a climate smart Bainbridge table there with some really great, hopefully really fun kids activities, some art activities for kids. And it's a great opportunity just to come and talk with myself and a member of our Climate Change Advisory Committee to learn more about the Climate Action Plan and what's planned by the city in the coming year. I also wanted to share that we are currently soliciting applications for people to serve on the Climate Change Advisory Committee. This committee serves as a technical and planning advisory committee on issues related to climate change as directed by the City Council. Applications are due by 4 p.m. on Friday, April 29th, and we can share the link to that in the chat box as well. And then, of course, you are always welcome to contact me with any questions. With that, I will stop sharing. And then I do have a poll. I'm going to ask you all a question to help us understand what climate change topics are you most interested in learning about more. Thinking ahead to having additional staff available to help us provide more community workshops, hopefully some hands-on in-person workshops in the near future. It would be great to know if there are some specific topics that you would be interested in. And you can click, you should be able to click on more than one of these. So if there are several options of interest, feel free to indicate those, and we'll give folks just a couple of minutes, and then we can share the results. Okay, we got answers from about half of the folks so far. So far, preparing my home and yard for climate change and energy related topics are getting a lot of interest. Okay, we'll give it just a few more seconds. Got just 2 folks left if you want to. All right, great. Okay, I will end that poll and then share the results. Okay, so a lot of interest in renewable energy, using less energy at home, preparing our homes and yards for climate change, and then nature's role in sequestering carbon dioxide. Great. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. Any questions about the climate challenge? Like I said, if you are interested in being a team leader, welcome to reach out to me anytime. I'd be happy to share materials with you.
Yeah, so if people have questions, they can use the raise hand feature down on the bottom of their screen, and then we'll let you in to talk to Autumn. Or you could also use the chat to submit a question, and I just posted some links in there as well.
Thank you, Alan. All right, not seeing any questions come through, which is totally okay. Please do check out the links. We encourage everybody to join the Climate Smart Challenge. And after you join, please do take some actions and get those in there. We'd really appreciate it. And yes, please feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions. But with no questions, we'll let everybody go. Enjoy the rest of your evening and happy Earth Day tomorrow. Hope to see some folks out at the Earth Day event. And I see Barbara's, oh, I think Alan, I think our links just went to the host and panelist.
Yeah, I just switched it to
Thank you.
everyone.
There
There
we go.
is a question here from John Kidd. Says, what change areas are you most interested in the next year?
I think that the activity areas that I'm most interested in the next year are going to be around electric vehicles. We're just having a ton of conversations right now internally about opportunities to electrify our fleet and starting to really think about what our plan is going to be for the broader community. There are several grant opportunities available right now, and there's an anticipation of like $500 million worth of grant funds coming at the federal level in the coming year to support electrification of transportation systems. So really excited to see what we may be able to do as a community and what some of our partners may be able to do as well, like Kitsap Transit, and whether or not there's opportunities for electric car share and things like that in our community.
Let's see, we have some more questions here. Ted Larson, I think, he asks if that includes the fire department.
You know, I'm not sure. I haven't had any conversations about fire trucks, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some options out there. We'll have to look into that one.
John Kidd is asking, are there any subsidies for solar installs?
We don't have any subsidies at the city level. The best place to look for whether or not there's anything available from Puget Sound Energy would be on their website. But if you are in the climate challenge and you select the action for install solar at your home, we do have direct links to the various programs and resources available about any programs that would be available.
All right, and I just chatted those links one more time in case people didn't get them the first time. And I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment.
All right, well, like I said, have a great Earth Day tomorrow, and hope to see some folks out at the Earth Day event on Sunday. And please form a team. This would be a great opportunity to have these types of really in-depth conversations and share resources with each other. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.